6. I say good evening, it could be good afternoon. Whenever you're watching, welcome to the show nonetheless. My name's Andrew Leonard. We have a reduced panel this week, and it's a very good afternoon, good evening, good morning to Nick Armistead.
Andrew, thank you for having me.
Great to have you on board. Good to see, despite the loss of Will Barham, that we've got one of his shirts. So that's a good little addition. Brenton Mann, hello.
Andrew, good evening. Good evening, all the way over there. I feel like we're separated. We're like
no, it's okay. It's okay.
Like the mainland and Tasmania.
The cameras won't lie. We'll get straight into it. Performance plays of the week. Let's roll into those straight away. Nick, we'll get you to kick us off if we could.
Thank you, Andrew. My performance player of the week this week, I actually think he was a performance player a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago. But Jared Bannister from Therapanola booted 10 goals on the weekend. The Lions kicked 18. He kicked over half of them, and he is absolutely flying in Division 1, so he gets my performance player of the week.
So in a round of low scores, if you kicked over half the goals, you're a chance to sneak in. So if your team got 6 on the weekend and you got 3 or 4, you're a big sniff. Brenton Mann, are you in?
Yes, I'll keep with the goal kicking theme. I'll go with Sam Freeman from Masala. He bagged 6 on the weekend to go with his 8 2 rounds ago against Box Hill North. In Masala's big win over Chadstone, he's got 27 for the year and flying in front of the sticks.
And to continue on that theme, I'll go back to our mate Willie B's Club Q and Liam Kinsella, who kicked 4 goals. Didn't quite make it into Willie B's special, what's it called? His army?
Barmy's
Army last week. But he did kick 4 goals as the Bears had a massive win over Old Ivanhoe, which was a great result for them in Premier C, keeping their finals hopes alive. Right, on to William Buck Premier section, and we start our look at last week's games, round 10, the week after. Do we mention the state game? We don't mention that.
I think we'll briefly mention it. We won't
maybe in the
harp
headlines.
on it.
Maybe in the headlines. Of course, the Vics lost to South Australia in the state game 2 weeks ago. That's why we weren't here 2 weeks ago. But after round 10, the teams were back and they came back to wet grounds, and the condition of the grounds was just terrible at most VAFA venues. It was the same at St Kevin's and Uni Blacks, and St Kevin's won their second game of the year over Uni Blacks, again by a close margin. It was a great result. Blacks led by 5 points at three-quarter time, but without the services of Adam Pitt, and their guns in midfield, Marn and Cruz, were relatively quiet. Meanwhile, for St Kevin's, Willie Coates took this big chess mark in the goal square and kicked the goal to put them in front with about 30 seconds left. Although I want to raise something here. So you'll see from the next passage of play, Nick, this is an early question for the 4 questions, and to you, Brenton, as well.
Okay.
Should the VAFA have a shot clock? Because you'll see here, Kanakis has taken the mark. He says he's going to have a shot at goal. So the umpire immediately says, right, we'll give him the roughly 30 seconds that they get, because I think that's the same rules apply.
Yes.
It's 15 seconds play on around the ground.
Yes.
And as we're watching here, he's taken a good 22-ish, 23 seconds before he says, I'm not really going to have a shot. I'll kick it wide out here to Jason Sellerpeck just to milk some more time off the clock. It was well played, St Kevin's. They got an important win that levels their season at 5-5. And whilst the other teams around them, they're still 7th, St Kevin's, but they'd be thinking themselves a chance given the way that the evenness of the competition is this year.
Especially with odds of variance winning on the weekend as well. They're also at 5-5 now. So they needed that win. They needed that last-minute goal sort of stuff. But they're averaging...
It was season over if they didn't win, I reckon. I mean, it would have been really hard.
Do you think, though, they've got the second most points for? So their attack's working really well, but the third most points against. Do you think that they need to bring that down to have any chance?
Well, coming into the next few weeks where there's going to be lots of low scores, I think that's going to be an issue for them. You're not going to be scoring as freely as you once might have, and that points for was inflated by a 31-goal effort against Old Carey, which
very true.
Old Carey have improved since then, and other clubs haven't been able to do that as well. Nick, you had a look at the top of the table clash. It was the matches around De La Salle and Old Trinity.
I did, and it was a match of the round between the 1 and 2, and we thought it was
up to it though.
It absolutely did not live up to it, as De La solidified top spot with a massive 61-point win against the Tees, despite missing Jake Williams and Anthony Ferrado, arguably, who I believe are their 2 most important players. De La just dominated from start to finish, as Steve Hogan opened the scoring here, and they didn't let up the intensity for the remainder of the match. Ed Clinch fired in his second game for their seniors. Adrian Indovino and Tom Nichols, they kicked 10 goals between them. And while Damien Rayson, who plays well every single time I watch De La, I don't think I give him enough credit, to be fair, in maybe the Premier reports and everything, but he's an absolute star in up forward and in the midfield. He combined with Jacob Gotch, Sam Haslam, Sam Williams, the same names that they were just a class above in the midfield. Andrew Kyriakopoulos was best for Old Trinity, using his big body and elite skills through the middle, but other than a couple of good performances by Anthony Scott, who came back from Richmond's
Great to
VFL.
see my man Scotty back. He won the Rising Star 2 years ago in the VAFA and hasn't played a game since.
He hasn't. He's
Been
left
flying
us.
his trade at Richmond VFL. He's been going okay with the boys having a bye over the week.
It's good to see Richmond VFA. You've obviously got some influence getting the good VAFA players back into the VAFA. Cruz is back, Scott's back,
Tommy
Ferraro.
Silvestro, best for Uni Blues.
Yep.
Absolutely
There's
fantastic.
a common denominator.
There's a strong VAFA flavour at Richmond VFL. Maybe that's how I got the job, I'm not sure.
Well, they've now lost 3 of their past 4, and that includes a tie against Old Melburnians. So they've only won 2 points from the last 4 weeks. It doesn't get any easier this week for Trinity as they face Blacks at Uni Oval.
Yeah, worrying signs for Old Trinity. We might tackle that more in the 4 questions later on. In other games, University Blues, after being a goal apiece against Collegians at halftime, managed to beat Collegians in the end. Collegians, of course, pinched the game against Blues earlier this year, so the inside mail I had was there was no way Blues were going to lose this game, and they went on to do a great effort to beat Collegians on this one. They had a bit of a payback coming their way, Collegians, according to some Blues insiders. Old Zaz defeated St Bernards quite comprehensively at Toorak Park, and questions now about St Bernards.
Yeah.
We'll address that later on, but I'm not sure where their season lies with the Snow Dogs.
It's a massive fall from grace, isn't it? Coming from premiers in a year ago to possible relegation a year later. It's not fantastic, but
could be the first club since Old Hailery to win the premiership and get relegated the following season.
They need to get Tom Sullivan back. He injured himself. Speaking of the VAFA Sarful game last weekend, he went over on his ankle. They need to get him back. He's been their best performer all season, and in a team that's struggling, you can't afford to lose him.
You need to get him back too, because you penciled him in for the Woodrow.
I know he's
It's 3 votes gone.
That's I wasn't going to bring it up. It's been hurting, but.
Old Melburnians had a big win at Sports Cover Arena, and probably for Old Melburnians, that win, I reckon, seals their survival in William Buck Premier Section for next year, which is a fantastic effort for Nathan Brown and his team. Probably more importantly, though, they're a sniff to keep hanging on and maybe play finals as well.
They were disappointing a couple of weeks ago, but they've bounced back magnificently. Against Old Kerry, 78 points, and I think they're a genuine finals contender or aspirant.
And their superstar up forward, Al Armstrong, with another 5 goals, takes his tally to 24. He's equal second now. Wasn't in the VAFA Sarful game, but he is absolutely starring.
Why wasn't he?
Yeah, why wasn't he in there, Nick?
I'm actually not sure.
Considering you're on his cheer squad, what happened?
I don't know. I don't think I cheered hard enough, unfortunately.
So that were the results in William Buck Premier Section. We'll take a break, be back with their headlines, Premier B, Premier C, and all the divisions right after this.
Anytime is the right time to get fit at Anytime Fitness. Access over 400 gyms across the country 24/7 and discover why more Australians train at Anytime Fitness than any other gym. Go online and register now for your free 7-day pass and feel something better.
Welcome back to the Tragics. It's time now for the headlines from VAFA Media Man, Nick Armistead.
Thank you, Con. So, De La Salle and Old Trinity came together over the weekend to support Cure for MND Foundation and raise $5,000 for motor neuron disease research. In an announcement on De La Salle's Facebook page, they said both clubs are excited to build on the success of the very first D's v T's for MND match and celebrated together while wearing the blue MND beanies after the match. On the topic of Inner FM, they will be covering the University Blacks and Old Trinity game this weekend from Uni Oval. And that's it for this week's headlines.
And for anyone that wants to know, Nick was practicing the D's v T's freeze for MND in the ad break furiously there, and he's pretty happy he nailed it. We'll move on to Premier B. The big result was undoubtedly Monash Blues' win over Beau Morris, the first defeat of the year for the Sharks. Stephen Milne didn't play on what was an ugly cow paddock at the Frierson Reserve. As one of the worst grounds in the VAFA is what it's been described to me as, in terms of that they've seen the way that's been chopped up with the weather. And it might be an early question. We love the thirds and we love the 19s playing in triple headers and things like that, but for the quality of the games, can we afford to play 3 games back to back on an oval?
Obviously you can't, because you've got to have the premier, the top side playing in the best conditions possible. I know it's...
I always found that weird.
Yeah.
That the thirds get the premium conditions in the morning, and then the twos get... and then by the senior game, the conditions are just diabolical.
But do Monash Blues totally hate this? I mean, Beau Morris are absolutely starring on the clean decks on the good days.
Yep.
Would they totally not like that?
Oh, the Blues?
Yeah, the
They
Blues.
would have loved it.
Sorry,
I reckon it probably would have... they would have been smiling, I reckon, at the condition of the ground as the Sharks arrived. But nevertheless, it was a great win for Blues, and it puts them into the 4. and gives them a real shot going into the second half of the season. I reckon there'll be real smokies to do some damage. It's a pretty even competition this year in Premier B, and certainly more even in terms of the potential premiers than we've seen in recent seasons.
Yeah, exactly. And with Old Scotch having a big win, you're about to cover, I believe. But St. Bede's and Beaumaris would have said at the top two. Beaumaris have had a draw now against Fitzroy, and they've lost to Monash, so there's no saying no for Monash.
No, and it's not guaranteed for Beaumaris either. So, but Old Brighton, they're still struggling, unfortunately, in Premier B as they went down to Hampton Rovers at the Beach Oval, which is a bad loss for them. Importantly, Rovers have had a couple of wins in the last month as well, so a good result for them. With I think, Nick, there's this goal that is unbelievable in the final quarter.
Absolutely. Nick Pavlou throws it on the left, out on the boundary, and I don't know what's better, whether it's the goal or whether it's the celebration. He carries on a bit here, but Ed Turner got that was a go-ahead goal. Ed Turner got the sealer, and they were pretty happy with their work there.
Just on Old Brighton, they cannot win at home. I know they can't. They're in a really rough patch, but at home their form is very ordinary, and it's a really worrying sign for them.
It used to be a really tough ground to go to as well, the Beach Oval. So I'm not sure what's happened to the Tunners this year. Old Scotch was the surprising result, getting thrashed by St. Bede's Medtone Tigers, and that really gives the Tigers the march on possibly that top two and double chance spot. And we know how important that is, because that opportunity to go straight into the grand final and, more importantly, win promotion back to William Buck Premier is a real advantage in September. The Cardinals, not sure what to read into that result. In the other result, Ajax beat the Roys, so the Roys drop out of the 4 down to 7th with that loss, unfortunately. And Vultures, they handed Old Haileybury a loss as well. So the Bloods have got a bit of work to do if they want to stay in the section after winning promotion last year.
It's a great win for the Vultures, 25-point win over Old Haileybury, who I reckon they were general final contenders, but Vultures just hovering around and exactly what you said, gave the Bloods some serious work to do.
But it shows just how even it is, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you're falling from 4th to 7th.
Yeah.
Like Fitzroy.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. Nick, in Premier C, you had a bit of a look at Kew and Old Ivanhoe.
I did. 36 scoring shots to 21 told the story. Last time it was a great win for Old Ivanhoe. It was that Mal Mitris after the siren goal. So the Kew boys were a little bit happy to see that. I did have under good authority that they weren't stoked with how much airtime that goal was getting. They were using that as a bit of what's the word I'm looking
Motivation.
for? Bit of motivation going in this one, and they were just unbelievable. Adrian Del Monte, though, from Old Ivanhoe, despite the loss, did put this one through. A little handball to the self, from the pocket, puts it through. He loves a goal, Adrian Del Monte. But Q's midfield was too strong in the mud, too many dominant forwards. Brazil, Tim Allman starred. Sam Glover has that beautiful raking left boot. He's absolutely starring at the moment. I think he'll be in Christian Burgess' Premier C Team of the Year thoughts at the moment. And Zach Jones and Liam Kinsella, two little forwards, dominated all day.
I'm surprised Adrian Del Monte's not over in Europe watching the Euros. He's a big soccer man, Adrian, and good luck to him with that great goal. He has kicked a lot of great goals over his time at Old Ivanhoe. Other results, Mazenod defeated Old Campbell. The Nodders stay 10-0, but it was only by 6 points at Central Reserve from the Wellers, who have been struggling at times this year. So really good effort from the Wellers. The Nodders perhaps due for a letdown in the coming weeks. Maybe
it is tough coming off the bye sometimes, and you get those efforts. There was one in the divisions. Yarra Valley nearly knocked off St John's. They were just travelling and just got the job done. But the Wellers struggling a bit this year, but it's a very concerted effort. Yeah.
Caulfield Grammarians beat Marsland by over 100 points at Glen Huntly Oval. Marsland, we've raised the question here a few times. We're not sure what's going on down there on Bulleen Road, but disappointing times for them, and they're almost looking at certain relegated options.
I think it's
down to divisions. We might check the last time Marsland were in the divisions, because it's been a long time, I reckon.
It's been a pretty sad end to their, not a sad end to their season. It's not over yet, but it's nearly nailing the coffin stuff. Coming off the final series last year, again with straight set exits, they haven't been able to put it together at all this year, and unfortunately they might find themselves in the divisions.
Williamstown beat Oakley by 40 points, and Peninsula kept on their winning ways, and I'm hoping the Pirates can keep going. They beat Ormond by 52 points. We'll flick over to you, Brenton, now and jump into the divisions.
We'll start with Division 1, which is one of the most exciting divisions, as I said a couple of weeks ago in my division report. We had St Mary's, who were the new top-of-the-table team, lone on top with a 59-point win over the Ogs, who the Ogs got pushed out of the 4 with that loss at Ferndale Park, which is like a postage stamp playing at Ferndale Park sometimes, and with, I believe, which we'll touch in the 4Qs, highest rating segment on YouTube, surely. The 4Qs. Jess Sinclair, their senior coach for St Mary's, may have missed his flight and didn't make the game, but it didn't stop St Mary's barnstorming win over Ogs.
There's no point asking the question now, is there?
Well, no. Well, you can still ask the question.
You're going to set up a segment.
True. I shouldn't have gone with that, but I'm sorry about that. St Mary's Carson Strobel, who was their off-season recruit, started with 4 goals. Steph Gus had 4, and Josh Tanner with 3. As I said, they are top of the table now. Lone with 8 and 2 at 32 points. Old Mantonian snapped their 3-game losing streak with a 23-point win over Nobs St Pat's, and Ivanhoe knocking off the former top of the table Pegs by 14 points, with Nathan Valkanis kicking 5, Kiki Blackmore-Moore kicking 3, along with Lewis Minnie and Mitch Lovell.
They're a big sniff, Ivanhoe.
You're a massive fan
big,
of Ivanhoe.
Big Ivanhoe
You're
fan.
a massive Ivanhoe fan.
They were trailing by 32 points at half time. I think it was worth noting. That was a big comeback.
Big comeback
Yep.
over Pegs. Old Parade got their season off to a winning, not off to a winning way, but the first win of the season with a 66-point win over the 2 Blues at Old Parade at the college. At Garvey Oval. It's a fantastic oval out there. There's a magpie that sweeps you in the forward pocket. It's fantastic. The band is combined for 7 majors. David and Michael, I believe David kicked 4, Michael kicked 3. In Division 2, Yarra pushed the unbeaten St John's. They're still unbeaten, but they pushed them all the way, and Yarra was simply superb. I was actually at that game. I actually pulled on the yellow, green and black over the weekend, which was an
You had a run around, did you?
uninspiring return to
In the
football.
twos.
In the twos. Oh, my word, in the twos.
So you're one of those ones chopping up the grounds for that.
No, Thomas Carroll Reserve, always in pristine condition. The greater Dandenong do a magnificent job in keeping that ground in the best shape in the VAFA, I'm sure. Damien Pagan was excellent off halfback for Yarra, and also Nathan McConchy on debut was excellent for the Jocks. In Div 3, your mates Hawthorn got knocked off at Rathmines in the match of the round. Glen Ira beat them by 13 points in a 48-point turnaround. 16 goals to 8 after quarter time really told the story there. In fantastic win for Glen Ira, and they absolutely are barnstorming top of the table at the moment in Div 3.
Saw a tweet that the federal member for Kooyong was also in attendance at that game.
Very nice.
Yep.
Who is the federal member for Kooyong?
Josh Frydenberg, the assistant treasurer.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not over my politics. It's not my range.
Big supporter of the
out of my
AFA,
range.
Josh.
Canterbury snapped their 5-game losing streak with a 50-point win over Albert Park, and we'll touch on Div 4 because we love Div 4. Westbourne Grammarians remain undefeated as they scraped in over the neighbours Point Cook. And that rounds out the division report. It was a
big win for Westbourne Grammarians. They remain undefeated, of course, and it was a good showing from Point Cook, who was second. But I still think when you look at the scoring shots, Westbourne Grammarians had them covered.
8-17, it tells the story there.
On to the 4 questions now. Nick, do you want to open the batting with your question?
I will. Mine's for you,
Yep.
Andrew. Hampton Rovers, sensational win, as we mentioned earlier, with a couple of late goals there. Can they now avoid relegation?
Absolutely they can. As I mentioned, I think before, they've won 2 of their past 4. They've got 4 of their last 8 at home, and 3 of those in the next 4 weeks. Unfortunately, they've only got 1 of their last 4 games at home at the Boss James Reserve. Boss James Reserve, that's right.
James,
That's right. And they play Old Scotch in the last round, which could be a challenge. Although, given Old Scotch's tendency in a couple of seasons ago to drop half their side for the round 18 game,
I was going to bring that up. Would it be resting in the last round?
That could be a chance. They could be a chance, but I reckon they can.
So the next 4 weeks are the most important.
Yeah, Old Hayley, obviously they need next 4 weeks. They've really got to knuckle down. They've got 2 before the bye and 2 after the bye. It gives them a good chance to really make a good show of it. Yeah. I wanted to ask you a question about what am I going with? Old Trinity here. Now, can they rebound to make the top 2?
Can they rebound? So they've fallen to 4.
They've fallen to 4.
They've fallen to 4. They're not in the best form. They were pretty confident, from my understanding. I was actually pretty confident that after the break they'd come out firing. Obviously that hasn't happened, but mind you, De La Salle are the best side in the competition at the moment, so it happens. It's probably not their best performance for a couple of years, but Brendan Yetzi will be the man that will come back. And I'm not saying he's going to come back and he's going to be in Woodrow medal form. Like, that would be remiss. That's not going to happen. But he'll come back, and his leadership and just what he offers those young lads. You see him while he was injured. You see him on the boundary, and he's the most passionate supporter out there. What he'll bring that. Harry Tinney, not Harry Taylor, is still returning to form since coming back from injury. They've got their next 4 games against Blacks, Collegians, Blues and Old Carey, and as same with Hampton Rovers, probably their most important 4 games. I think the Blacks this week is the most important. If they can beat them at Uni Oval, it will set them up swimmingly going ahead to the back half of the season. But Collegians, I think they can beat. Blues will be another hard one. Blues now have the best defence with about 58.8 points against.
So they can do
competition. And I'm just banging on, but yes, they can.
I can see Dermot Burden sitting next to me.
Yeah, exactly right. Brenton.
I can ask you, Andrew, can the return of Simon Caven from Coburg save St Bernard's from relegation?
Oh, it's a big call, Nick.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think. I reckon they're really struggling. And I know he played forward on the weekend, but he's going to have to kick bag after bag after bag.
Yeah.
They one win with... they're 16, 4 points off 8th spot, and there's 4 teams in 8th spot, and their percentage is ordinary as well, St Bernard's. I can't see them getting out
It's a bit
of it.
dire, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
You agree?
Yeah, I think.
Fantastic.
Final question was going to be, do you need to be there every week to
Oh, I
coach?
didn't see that one
Brenton?
coming. Well, obviously, judging on St Mary's showing against Ogs, you don't. And if your support staff are good enough that you have around you, a la Al Clarkson with the smiling Brendan Bolton last year, you don't have to be there all the time. And maybe Jess might take a couple more holidays at this back end of the year.
That about wraps it up here on the Tragics. I hope you've enjoyed just the 3 of us this week. Bit shorter show this week. Hopefully you'll be back again to watch us next week. We'll see you again on the Tragics.